majority. Companions asked, Ya Rasulullah, mal jama'ah? What do you mean by jama'ah, the community? So community does not mean 100% agreement. Holy Prophet said, as-sawadul a'adam. As-sawadul a'adam. Majority is known as jama'ah. So Holy Prophet's dozens of hadiths in Sahih Sunan Abi Dawud and Siyasitta and many books, Holy Prophet recommended and he proposed that decision of majority is better than decision of minority. One thing. Same model was practiced by Khulafa al-Rashidin. Sayyidina Umar said that if there's certain issues discussed and there is opinion divided into two, equally divided, then he said discuss it and khuzu sinfan aksar, word of Sayyidina Umar Farooq. He said you have to follow the opinion of the majority. So this model was practiced by Khulafa al-Rashidin. Same was practically practiced when Sayyidina Usman took over as the head of the state as Khalifa al-Thalith. Because first of all, the issue of the head of the state was discussed in a small cabinet. And there were equal votes, 3 on Sayyidina Ali's side, 3 on Sayyidina Usman. Then the case was referred to the Parliament of Medina. It consisted at that time of 50 members. It was discussed again 25 and 25. Equal division took place among both. Then Abdul Rahman bin Auf, he was appointed as Chief Election Commissioner. And the case was referred to him to get a referendum, istiswabul am, opinion of the common people. So he committed istiswab, referendum, for 3 days. And it comes in Tabakat ibn Sa'd and Tabari and many books of Islamic history. The days and nights he got opinion that who should be appointed as head of the state, Khalifa. He asked the people, men, he asked women, he asked the sick people, he asked the good people, the passenger, the travelers, the settlers, every single person he asked. And finally he concluded after 3 days that majority opinion was in favor of Sayyidina Usman. And so he decided in the favor of Usman. So the rightly guided caliph, they have been practicing the model of democracy in the basis of majority decision. Now comes the last portion of your question. What will happen if majority wants to make halal haram and wants to make halal haram? Answer is no. There are limitations. All other things where Quran and Sunnah has not categorically commanded you on a specific thing. So majority decision of a parliament, even the whole society, is not allowed or permitted to declare any haram as halal or any halal as haram. No change in the commandments of Allah. No change in the commandments of Holy Prophet where halal and haram or the fara'id and wajibat things are concerned. All things below this definition, whichever things fall within the permissibility or within the preference, all these things where the Quranic or the Hadithic commandment is not categorical, it has been left to you. At that place, majority opinion will be adopted. And secondly, if there are 3 or 4 views on the same particular subject, Hanafi view says this, Shafi view, another interpretation of the same commandment says this. How many so people living in that country, so different Aimma has given different interpretations, and all interpretations are based on the evidences of Quran and Sunnah. So majority, they can adopt either of those interpretations in order for the benefit of the majority living in that country. So this majority decision has limitations. They can't change the commandment of God and Holy Prophet ﷺ. Other than that, everything is permissible for majority. This is the basic decision.
Thank you.
Anybody from this side? Yes. Yes, Ji.
Yes, I just want to raise a question and clarify the audience. A lot of time people say that the dress which we wear in the Western society, like I wear the tie, even back in Pakistan, and they say it's not an Islamic dress. And there is a very hot topic going on about the women's wear right now in Australia, and that is causing a lot of problem for the women going in the shopping centers. Like sometimes my mom goes to the shopping center and the people watch us because she's wearing like not a hijab, but she's wearing a...
Your question is clear. As far as the dress is concerned, there is no specific details, no specific details are given categorically by Quran and Sunnah and Sharia or the companion regarding a specific form of dress. The Islamic dress means the dress based on sharm and haya, which covers your body and which covers your specific organs. That's it. All other things are cultural. As far as the tie, your jacket, your pant is concerned, this is neither Islamic nor un-Islamic. You can wear, it is Islamically, 100% Islamically, it is permissible. Nothing is, only I told anything is prohibited where Quran and Sunnah or Sharia has categorically prohibited or forbidden that thing. All remaining things have been made permissible and indifferent for the Muslims, they can use. So, as far as the dress is concerned, unless the dress covers the body of the women, for men, whatever dress you are wearing is Islamic dress. Whatever I am wearing, although different in form, is Islamic. Whatever the professor is wearing, different in form, but Islamic. Everybody is wearing, our sons and brothers wearing different dress, Islamic. So the dress which covers nicely is Islamic. And as far as the veil is concerned, covering the head and the body, except hand, face, hands and feet. This is the mandatory dress for the women. Covering the face with veil is not mandatory or is not compulsory, is not fard, not wajib. Covering the hands and feet are not given, Holy Prophet never gave this commandment to the companions. So this is just something which creates confusions about Islam in the society. About veil, it differs from place to place, from society to society, from situation to situation. If you feel fear in a certain atmosphere where you are working, the people will gaze you, they will chase you, and you feel embarrassed, then it's better to cover your veil. And I think covering the veil is much more necessary in Muslim world than the non-Muslim world. In Pakistan and India, if the ladies go there, every single person except a few pious people, they will chase her, they will look at her face. This is, I belong to that part of the world, and they say, here nobody cares about you, nobody chases your face, nobody puts eyes into your eyes. You are working in your office because this is the culture, they are used to this manner. So here you are more safer as compared to the Muslim world society where the people look at your eyes, the women's face and things. So here you are more safer. Nobody can raise voice against you. Nobody can touch you. There anybody can kidnap anytime, whenever he wants. So these things are more necessary in the Muslim world other than as compared to the Western world. So if still somebody wants to wear the veil as a cultural matter or as for spiritual satisfaction, it is not disallowed. It is permissible. But when the identity comes, the matter of identity, it is incumbent and mandatory for her to remove for identity. The law demands removal, at that time it is mandatory for her to remove it for identity. She can't say no, this is the law of the land. Clear?
Okay, we have
one this.
Very patiently.
Okay.
So please leave us with this.
Your question. Neutrality. If you just stop this, then put other question afterwards, let me answer, otherwise it is confusing. My dear son, I have a very close interaction with the Western world for the last 30 years, since 1981 till today. I have lived in the Western world, I have traveled throughout in the Western world. It was never in the Western world this kind of discrimination. I never saw. This was a very open society, and still there are countries, very, very open society. We should never see the faults of others. Instead of looking into the faults of others, first of all, we should trace the faults in our own act. What happens? We invite this kind of attitude there. Ladies, for example, in Quebec, some ladies in London, somebody here, in France, they are going with veil, and the immigration department or the police department, for the purpose of identity, they ask her to remove the veil, we want to identify, she says no, This is against my religion. No, let me, no, you have done your question. No.
So you can't say just
Yeah.
right now.
What?
The condemnation war that has been going on since the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Can you repeat the question? I said these discriminations against Muslims and the Sharia has been happening since the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Not just within the last 10 years, since September 11. It's been happening in the time of the Gulf War. It's been happening in the time when the Ottoman fell.
Please stick to your question.
This is my question.
What kind of discrimination do you mean?
Discrimination against the Sharia, how it's so
Ottoman
brutal,
Empire.
how it's so inhumane, when this is the law of Allah which we are meant to live by. The discrimination against the Muslims and their beliefs.
Yes, I tell you, law of the land, for example, requires removal of veil for a certain point, for identity. And somebody says no. So this is an illegal act saying no. So then, when these kind of activities take place again and again, at many other places, so these kind of acts or attitudes invite the law to become more strict. In the same way, number two, when some Muslim organizations living in the Western world, if they start shouting and say that we want Sharia law enforced and Islam enforced in the Western world, and they say, now, please listen to me. You have
please listen now. You have asked your question.
You see on the TV interviews, some people, the scholar or representative, they say that we want to raise the flag of Islam on 20 or 10 Downing Street. They said in the TV, they say we want Sharia to be enforced in England and we want it to be made Islam. This was never allowed by Islam and never allowed by Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. As I quoted you the example of the Ethiopia, the Habasha, they lived there, their deen was protected, but they never fought or struggled for enforcing Islam in a non-Muslim land. They were protected. If people will do you are supposed to work for Islamic enforcement in Islamic countries, not where the Muslim country, non-Muslim countries, the non-Muslim governments, non-Muslim majority people, you are protected, there are musta'mineen. You are getting all rights, but you are not supposed as a minority to say, we want Sharia here, we want to change their constitution. When you say these kind of things, and moreover you say, we want jihad here, and number three, such people, if they commit acts of terrorism in the embassies, against against embassies, what happened in 9/11? But you can't speak. This is against, you can't speak. You have done your question. You can't speak during my answer. I said, if some people, if there is an action, if you want to listen to me or not, simple thing. Very hard to preach. Listen to me. If, for example, a case happened 9/11, and before any inquiry, somebody claims that we accept responsibility we have done. So what kind of reaction would you accept? If 7/7 takes place in London, and all of a sudden people take responsibility, that we take responsibility we have done. Allah knows better they did it or not, but they take responsibility we did it. If in different countries some bomb blast takes place in embassies, and they take, even Norway, in Norway there was a group, Al-Ansar. In the very beginning they said, we take responsibility, we did it. And they had not done it. Silly action. If we start, some people of Muslims start these kind of activities in Muslim and non-Muslim land, automatically there will be a reaction. And when you go into the reaction, then people, because of reaction, they start discriminatory law. Still the law is not discriminatory. But if it was Ottoman Empire, then you would have discussed that, and we are dealing with this time. We are dealing with this time.
Okay.
Now I have given your answer.
All right.
I have given your answer that if anybody does not obey or does not respect the law of land, he invites reactionary treatment and discriminatory treatment. So this is fault of some extremist people. When they shout on the street that we do this, in spite of the fact that they are getting all kinds of rights. They are getting the rights of their congregation, all rights are given. If they conduct this kind of terroristic or extremistic activities, only then they create problem for the Muslim community. This is both ways thing.
Okay,
What's your second question?
You had two.
Your second question.
I'm sorry, you can't have it.
No, he has second question. Second
Please, the question, not a complete statement.
You said that there is no such thing as Dar al-Kufr. Now, if a state allows what Allah has made haram, does not implement the law of Allah, do you say that that is not a state of kufr?
I shall explain. This kufr relates to the Muslim lands.
No.
First
There's
of all,
two. There's the non-Muslim lands and the Muslim lands.
You have put your question. Now let me answer, my dear. Let me answer. You have given your. Thus, you have asked your question, my dear. Now let me explain. Listen patiently. What is the position of Darul Kufr? Darul Kufr or Darul Harb. I told you that the original jurists, they declare different terms for the same word. So come. Remember, it is not on my own. I am quoting you just some references. Imam Tahawi, whatever I have said, I am quoting from Imam Tahawi. Mukhtasar Ikhtilaf al-Ulama, volume 3, page 469. What is Darul Harb and Darul Kufr? Not because that they have enforced the Kufr law, or not the Sharia law, or the Haram is enforced, not because of that. They say, وَلَا يَبْقَى فِيهَا مُسْلِمٌ وَلَا ذِمِّيٌّ آمِنٌ. There are three conditions. وَإِنْ فُقِدَ شَيْءٌ مِّنْ ذَلِكَ لَمْ تَكُنْ دَارُ حَرْبٍ يعني دَارُ الْكُفْرِ. He said that if any Muslim or non-Muslim is not living there in security, if this condition is not fulfilled up to this, only that land would be known as Darul Harb and Darul Kufr. So, they say it is not related to the Ahkam al-Kufr and Ahkam al-Islam are related to Muslim land. Islamic enforcement is not supposed in any non-Muslim land. And you can't claim it. Even they don't believe in Sharia. So they will enforce their haram law. So we are not supposed to act on haram things. We are not supposed to eat haram. We are not supposed to commit haram. This is their law and they don't enforce us to commit haram. They don't enforce. Even there are halal shops here and they don't ban it. We can get our halal meat. We can get halal restaurants are open in everywhere. So it means that if the Muslims get their security, they get the freedom of practicing their religion, although the land is of non-Muslim, so it can't be declared. Darul Kufr means Darul Harb, and he says that this is related to that. Now, Imam, next. No, my dear.
Okay, I'm sorry, we can't continue with this. We need to let that lady at the back, who's been very patiently listening, to ask a question, and we need to conclude. So if you could. If you have
I just want
again, I quote the same references as Imam Abu Hanifa. I quoted Badai al-Sanai. He said, "Inna al-maqsuda," I am repeating, "min idafati ad-dar ila al-Islam wal-kufr, laysa huwa ayn al-Islam wal-kufr, laysa huwa sharia, laysa ahkam al-sharia. Idafa huwa al-amn wal-khawf." If the people are getting security, it will be known as Dar al-Salam. If they are insecure, then it will be known as Darul Kufr. The word Amn and Khawf, he says Darul Islam wal Kufr. I am not using in this reference, it is not Darul Harb. He is saying Darul Kufr and Darul Islam. If they are getting security, they are Darul Salam. If not getting security, Darul Kufr. So this is the second reference. Now another very important. He says, Imam Ismail Bahauddin al-Samarkandi, he says even one law of Sharia is allowed to be enforced and practiced in a particular land. It cannot be considered as Darul Kufr or Darul Harb. Now, in other Aimma says, if the Muslims are allowed to establish Juma, Muslims are allowed to establish Eid, Muslims are allowed to establish 5 times pray, Muslims are allowed to act upon the zakat, they are allowed to perform the Hajj. If Arkanul Islam, they are allowed to do and they are free and they are not banned, that land cannot be declared to be Darul Kufr for them, in spite of the fact that the laws are the non-Muslims and they are doing haram. This is related to them. For Muslims, since there is no barrier on practicing Deen and Sharia for their life, they have the security and freedom. So this is not Darul Kufr or Darul Harb. It is similar to Darul Islam or Darul Salam.
I think the point is made, Shaykh-ul-Islam. Let that lady at the back ask her question.
Imam Ibn Qudama al-Hanbali. Imam Ibn Qudama al-Hanbali. He says, my dear, in Al-Mughni, Hanbali Fiqh, he says, you maximum you can say this is country of non-Muslims. Country of non-Muslims. But he says, Walana, yani, Asani Allah yabqa fiya Muslimun wala zammiyun aminun. Unless this condition is existing there, that nobody is secure in life, in religion, in rights, unless this condition is fulfilled, you can't declare it to be Darul Kufr or Darul Harb. So this is according to Imam Ibn Qudama al-Hanbali. Now, the same is according to Al-Maliki, Imam Sadi, Al-Maliki fiqh. He says, you can't, nahi bete hat jao, bete piche hat jao. Bete.
Okay, no, I think the question is already answered. We need to conclude this session. So,
his right is asking, I am explaining to him, he is my son, he has every right to ask anything. I am answering to him. Why do you stand up? I'm quoting the Aqrab al-Masalik, Maliki fiqh. He says, Ma damat Shaykh-ul-Islam qa'imatan biha. The Shaykh of Islam. People are allowed to go to Hajj, to form their delegates. They are allowed to establish Eid, are allowed to establish Jummah. They are allowed to establish 5-time prayer. They are allowed to pay their zakat. If Shaykh, they are allowed to practice it, they said they cannot be declared to be Darul Kufr or Darul Harb. This is the Maliki fiqh. And the same is the Shafi'i fiqh. So I have quoted the same Allama ibn Taymiyyah says. The same Ibn al-Qayyim says. So this Iqamat Deen is related to the Muslim land. It is not related to the non-Muslim land. If we are supposed to apply the halal laws and Quranic laws and Sharia laws, if we are living in Islamic state, if we live in an un-Islamic state, we are supposed to concentrate only simple things. Whether we are allowed to practice our religion, whether we are given all securities which other religious people are getting. If answer is yes, it is Darul Salam and Darul Amn. That's it.
Can the lady at the back please ask your final question and we'll conclude the session. If you could keep it brief, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you very much, Sheikh, for your knowledge. So thank you. I just wanted to ask, in terms of the, you mentioned about self-defense and that kind of thing. What about when there's a difference in power relations between people? For example, when someone has more weapons than another group, and how do we as people, as human beings, fight this oppression, whether it be against Muslims, against people with disabilities, against women, against indigenous people, whatever that is? How does, from your opinion, address oppression in general?
Thank you very much. It's a good question. Answer is very clear again, that it may be any country. If they are committing aggression on Muslim population, any country, any military, any soldiers belonging to Israel or any other country, whether they are Palestinians, they are Egyptians, they are Muslims, they are Iraq, sitting in everywhere. If any act of aggression is committing on a single individual or a society, so those people are allowed to fight in self-defense with them, since they are aggressors and they are combatants. So right of self-defense is available to them. But this is not allowed, which I explained, that since the army belongs to a particular country, it may be Israel, it may be America, it may be any European country, so the Muslims are not allowed, or any specific group of terrorists or combatants or militants, they are not allowed to kill the civilian people of that country, to kill the non-combatant people, women, ladies of that country, who have already committed an act of aggression on a society. So you have self-defense against the aggressors, not against those people who are not directly and practically involved in act of belligerency and civilians. Holy Prophet ﷺ gave a principle practiced by Abu Bakr Siddiq, Umar Khulafa Rashidin. He said, even during the warfare and battlefield, you are not allowed to kill the woman if she is not combatant. You are not allowed to kill the children, Holy Prophet said. You are not allowed to kill the priests worshipping in their church and temples and synagogues. You are not allowed to kill the farmers. You're not allowed to kill the traders. You're not allowed to kill the envoys and diplomats if they are not direct combatants and fighting in battlefield. You're not allowed to demolish the buildings. You're not allowed to kill the animals except when need for your food. So Holy Prophet, even during warfare, in the battlefield, provided certain prohibitions that you can't kill these, all categories, even during the warfare. So all these commandments of Holy Prophet and these commandments of the Khulafa al-Rashidin which were practiced would apply on this situation. You have every right of self-defense against the aggressors, attackers and combatants. But in revenge, you can't go and attack their civilians since they have committed an act of unjust or militancy or aggression or brutality. So brutality cannot be repelled through brutality. So you can't go and hit their civilians and non-combatants in their houses. This is illegal and not permissible in Islam.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I particularly liked the section where you thought that the University of Melbourne is actually engaged in some form of jihad. I don't think I'll be publicizing that factor in the media anytime soon. It has certainly been a privilege to listen to your opinion on this, and I'm sure that the whole audience agrees that this was a very lively and illuminating session. So we have a small token of appreciation for your time and efforts that we present to you. In your future research and writing. Thank you very much for your time. This concludes our session today. We will have other events related to topics of Islam and Muslims in the West. So watch out on our website and our Facebook. Thank you very much for your presence.